Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor. Updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. Brought to you by SCDHEC. Visit scdhec.gov for testing and vaccination sites. SCDHEC. Healthy people, healthy communities. In it together, SC and the South Carolina Diabetes Advisory Council presenting Wellness Wednesday every week on Coping with COVID. The City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, helping to meet the needs of small, minority, and women-owned businesses in the City of Columbia. Agape Counseling and Training Services. If you're having a challenge coping with COVID, visit Agape Counseling and Training Services at agapects.com. The Comet Bus System, offering free rides to get your COVID vaccine. Don't miss your shot. Visit catchthecomet.gov. Javis Financial Services, with over 20 years of experience. Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall. Honest, professional, reliable computer sales and service. Palmetto Media Connections, connecting media and communities together. Coping with COVID from SCDHEC. In it together, SC, the South Carolina Diabetes Advisory Council, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Agape Counseling and Training Services, the Comet Bus System, Javis Financial Services, Computers Unique, and Palmetto Media Connections.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.
Happy Thursday. I am Tre Tailor, and you are watching Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. Well, I know you've heard that college athletes can now get paid from their image and likeness. The NCAA announced the interim policy allowing them to monetize. It's the NIL. Conversations with Allen University football coach and assistant athletic director Teddy Keaton. He's going to join us a little bit later on. There he is now. He's going to talk to us about it. Hillary Cox with the University of South Carolina Athletics also joins us. A little bit later on, Stacey Huff with Watch Fox 57 is going to join us. And also Tiffany Joy Murchison with TJM and Co Media. She's actually negotiating some deals today, it seems like, Tiffany, with some athletes. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. We're going to talk to them and more coming up next on Coping with COVID. I'm Tre Tailor. But first, your COVID community updates. School districts are responding to the federal court ruling on the mask mandate. Richland 1, Richland 2, Lexington 2 will continue to require students and employees to wear face coverings. Now, Newberry's mandate is in effect until their board meets again in October. Sumter has a meeting scheduled today, as a matter of fact, to discuss it. And Kershaw County says it will use a temporary mandate in schools where COVID is causing large absences, while legal counsel for Lexington School District 1 believes the ruling is only focused on their disabled students. Richland County libraries are partnering with SCDHEC to provide free COVID self-tests at each of their locations. You can use the drive-through and curbside services to get as many as 5 tests each week. Additionally, the Sandhill location, which shares a parking lot with Richland School District 2, is also offering a free drive-through COVID testing. And if you plan to vote in the November 3rd election, which we hope you will, you have until October 3rd to register. For first-time registrations, you must be 18 years old by November 2nd of this year. You also need to update your registration if you've moved from out of state or lived in another county. Visit scvotes.gov to register online. You can also download an application and turn it in or mail it in. Check the screen and the scroll for more information. SCDHEC has your most up-to-date list of times, dates, and location for not only COVID testing, but COVID shots and flu shots. Visit scdhec.gov for more information. COVID vaccines are also being handled for all veterans at the VA. You can see that information on the screen also. There are also several retail locations that offer COVID testing in and around South Carolina. Kroger pharmacies, also CVS pharmacies, and the CVS locations that are in the Target stores are also offering free COVID testing. Brooklyn Baptist Church in West Columbia have reopened their vaccine clinic. You can see the dates and times that are open pretty much every day. No appointment is needed. Now, if you think you're going to have a challenge getting to get your COVID vaccination, don't miss your shot. Free rides are being offered from the Comet Bus System. Also, if you're a senior citizen or someone that is not technically astute, Get Set Up is offering seniors and others help getting their COVID vaccine appointment. you can visit Get Set Up for more information. Now, if you lost a loved one due to COVID, you can get reimbursement for funeral expenses. FEMA is still accepting application for COVID funeral expenses reimbursement. Again, that information is on the screen for more information. The South Carolina Bar Association and SC Legal Services also has a free toll-free number and website to help anyone with mortgage and rental help. Contact them for more information. There are several other rental and bill payment assistance programs in and around South Carolina, including Richland County Rental Assistance Program. Visit richlandcountysc.gov. Lexington County Bill Assistance. Dominion Energy and SC Housing has a bill assistance program for both rent and utilities. And SC Housing, additionally, is offering frontline workers home buying assistance. SC Hopes is available if you are having a challenge coping with COVID. The South Carolina Department of Mental Health has an online assessment and a free 24-hour, 7-day-a-week toll-free number for anyone that needs help coping with COVID. Please take advantage of these free services from the South Carolina Department of Mental Health. Finally, there are several vacancies available for City of Columbia boards and commissions. You can see that information on the screen. The deadline to apply is next Tuesday. So please go to the City of Columbia website, find out what you might be interested in or have expertise in, and be a part of your community and volunteer to be on a board in the City of Columbia. I'm Tre Tailor, and you're watching Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. We are streaming live on the Tailor Made production page on Facebook. That's the home of Coping with COVID. Please go over there and hit like and follow and share. Not only will you be able to watch Coping with COVID Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and first Monday with comedian George Wallace, you'll also be able to get all of your COVID-related updates. We're also streaming live on YouTube. I want to thank all of you YouTubers for joining us. Please hit the subscribe button if you want to continue to watch the show. And we also have a presence on Instagram. Now, throughout the show, we will be scrolling all of the information that we mentioned, all of the resources that are available, not only in South Carolina, but nationwide. If you're having problems locating a COVID test or a COVID vaccine, if you need some financial assistance with COVID, all of the resources are available and are scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Want to remind you, too, to please post and share this information out so we can get the message to the masses. We've got some great information that we share on the show, and we want to get it to you, the social media audience. I want to say hi to Barb Go Army. Hey there, lady. Thank you so much for joining us on Coping with COVID. Well, in July, the NCAA ruled that college athletes can now profit from their name and likeness. The NIL, name, image, and likeness policy includes all three divisions, and we're going to find out, how is it going? What kinds of deals can they make? Have any deals been negotiated? Is there anything in place to consult and manage these students? We're going to talk about it right now with Allen University football coach and assistant athletic director Teddy Keaton. Also, Hillary Cox is the director of administration with USC Athletics. We're going to talk with them, and hopefully a little bit later on in the show, we can get in Stacey Huff with Huff. Oh, he is there. Stacey Huff is there. He's there, ladies and gentlemen. Da-da-da-da. Hey, Stacey. So glad you were able to get on. Stacey Huff is here. He is a play-by-play announcer at Watchbox 57 and with Huff Nation Sports. Thank you all so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thanks for having us.
So listen, this has really been a long time coming. Why has it taken so long for this to be approved? Stacey, you want to chime in?
Well, good old-fashioned greed and ignorance. That's probably how it started. I shoot it straight, Trey. The powers that be had the free. NFL had a free marketing for football with free labor, college free labor, and it was the only legit question was, how do you control it? How do you differentiate who makes the most? And I think this is probably the best way to stick your foot in the water. But it was just greed. The powers that be didn't want to change anything because it was a system that worked for the
Right.
It's called NCAA, and it worked for the pro level, and it worked for everyone except the athlete.
So let me ask you.
Go ahead. I'm
Well,
sorry.
I want to know, how is it greed because it's not like you're taking anything away from anybody, are you? You're giving something to the players. So how is that greed?
And that's what I was going to say, and I'll say this and get off the stump for a minute. But No, that's what I mean by greed. They thought the NCAA thought they would be paying. That's what the first issue was. They thought they would be paying. Now the best way to do it is you let corporate America pay. All the illegal recruiting stories over the years has always been boosters and businesses in the neighborhood and the fake jobs, and going back to when I was at Carolina and in the 80s, and players with sacks of money, they really had no jobs. That was always the people in the community doing it anyway. But
Right.
the NCAA and the powers that be thought some kind of way they were going to be paying, and that's what I mean by greed. Now we found a way, and coaches now we find a way to let the people who are illegally pay them legally now, and really, so the greed is taken away now, because
Right.
the NCAA doesn't lose any money. Only thing now is, matter of fact, I think some kids will stay in college longer than they would otherwise, because some kids gonna make more money in college than they would if they go pro and get cut.
Wow. So how are your students, Teddy and Hillary, reacting to the law being passed?
Well, from my standpoint, it really hasn't really hit any of my kids. Too young of a program, not really marketable yet. We're getting to that point. But I've been in athletics for 21 years now. It's a big thing for the college athletes. And I think from an NCAA standpoint, they're trying to figure out how to manage it now. It's still fairly new. It's a lot of, there's really not any restrictions and nuts and bolts in it, because there's not enough people or not enough, data to be able to analyze who gets what, how is it going to go, how can we regulate it. Those type of conversations, I'm sure it's going to go on at the convention this year, and it probably be the hottest topic that everybody will want to talk about, because I think it's a great deal, but I also think it's a bad deal, simply because there's certain players on the team that may be worth more than certain players on the team, so it's not cut equal. So when your quarterback's pulling up in a Ferrari, and the other guys are pulling up in nothing, he get, I take, for instance, Bryce Young at the University of Alabama. Before he ever threw a football, he had signed $1 million contract for his endorsements and likeness. Okay, but does that make the locker room easier to coach for 18
Right.
to 22-year-olds when he's got to look outside and he see Bryce pulling up in his, Rolls Royce or whatever he may have, and the rest of them are walking to practice?
Yeah, but don't you think? And Hillary, please feel free to chime in. If we're talking about, obviously, as you said, kids, teenagers, young adults, isn't this some of the things they need to help prepare them if they do want to play professional sports? Because everybody's not going to get everything the same. Everybody's not going to be on the level playing field.
I think it's been a great opportunity for us at the institutional level to give real world examples, right? There were a lot of these things that we were teaching them prior to this. Several programs had professional development opportunities, financial literacy, brand management. All of these things were things that we were already talking about with our student athletes prior to name, image, likeness coming about. But now we have tangible, real world examples to give to them when we're walking them through scenarios. And so now you can talk about what's your personal experience dealing with this. And that certainly has been helpful to kind of get them to buy into trying to understand the landscape.
Right. Stacey, you were chomping at the bit over there. Did you want to chime in?
Yeah, I was. And I agree with what Coach was saying, but I'll say, I'm going to blame what both of them said. Real world is the quarterback is going to make more money. Bryce Young was going to make more money than the people on their team anyway. They might as well get the mind right now for it. He's more valuable than the punter. Real life experience. That's what college is all about, matriculating what real life looks like, right?
Right.
The punter at Alabama is not going to be as valuable as Bryce Young. It's not in this galaxy. So that's okay to understand now. But you're right. I can see where ego can get involved, and do I not block as hard? But you're hurting your own interest if you don't perform. So really shouldn't hurt the performance. Every kid is trying to keep their own scholarship. But there's going to be some people who are going to transfer portals already fired up. Coach knows about this. We all do. The transfer portal's on fire already. Now, if you're third string and you need to get to the too deep depth chart to even make any money, you got to leave now. You got to find somewhere where you can get on the field so you can cash in on the money. But real life says, though, the marketability is your value is going to get you paid more. So, So one kid Bryce Young was going to drive a Rolls Royce anyway. And some kids on their team were never going to have one anyway.
Yeah.
This just exacerbates what real life is. It's called the real world.
Yeah.
I look at it like this. I look at it like this. I as a coach, I have to take away my administration hat and put on my coach's hat. When you're trying to control a locker room, It almost become an open free market now, and it becomes like the NFL. And now you're trying to coach a kid at 18. Now, we're not talking about maybe a guy at 23, 24. We're talking about a guy at 18 or 17. Some are 17 when they hit college. And you're talking about 17 to 22 who has no financial background, who does no understanding of money, who has no, they don't even teach finances in school. Most of them don't understand, they know how to open a checkbook, write it, spend, but they don't know nothing about how to invest money and none of that stuff. So I'm going to allude to what Hillary is. We had people like USB, a lot of companies have reached out about teaching the financial literacy of it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, from a coach's standpoint,
Yes, sir.
it causes chaos in a locker room when my quarterback is probably making as much money as some of my assistants are making. And we're trying to tell him what to do. And if his ego can't get in check, now we have a whole nother problem and we're losing on Saturday, but he's still getting paid.
I totally agree with that, Coach. And I think the financial literacy is a big, without that, the whole thing doesn't work. And without without managing these kids, it's not going to work. So it just does make your job harder. I'm not even, you're absolutely right. It does.
We're talking about name, image, and likeness. We're talking about the policy that the NCAA has put into place for college students to profit on their name, image, and likeness. Coach Teddy Keaton joins us. He is with Allen University, Hillary Cox with the University of South Carolina, and W. Watch Fox 57 play-by-play announcer Stacey Huff joins us. Hillary, I want to get you into the conversation. What are you're at a larger university? What are you guys telling your students? Because there could potentially, as Coach Keaton and Stacey has said, there could potentially be a problem. What kind of conversations are you having with your students?
Yeah, I mean, these are all conversations that everyone's having on every campus, and we're having it with our coaches are having it with other coaches in the department. It's happening. And so what we've really tried to do is be intentional and honest with our student athletes. Name, image, likeness is very difficult in the state of South Carolina because an institution can't be involved in terms of facilitating a deal or securing a deal for our student athletes. So, the best that we can do right now is walk alongside them and continue to educate them and give them the tools and the resources and the ability to ask questions. Truthfully, our message to our student athletes from the beginning has been keep the main thing, right? All of this stuff is happening all around us, but keep the main thing. You're here to graduate. You're here to play your sport. All of this stuff exists. And kudos to everyone here at the University of South Carolina. There's been some really open and honest conversations, and that could be different by sport because, coaches feel differently about it. But these are very honest conversations that everyone's having. And, that's helped us kind of move forward and continue to focus on what we need to focus on. Again, keep the main thing.
So what are the details of the policy? Are there limits to how much they can make? Are there certain types of endorsements they can and cannot take? And is the school getting anything? What are the details of the policy?
Yeah, so the policy, as crazy as it sounds, is kind of wide open. In terms of restrictions here in the state, it's important to remember that each state is different, right? So here in the state of South Carolina, that can be different in North Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, Florida, the kids' hometowns, all of these things. There's a lot of moving parts to this. So here in the state of South Carolina, there's really no restrictions, with the exception of just a handful of items like we call them the vice category. So the state law prohibits that you can't endorse alcohol, tobacco, illegal activities, things of that nature. There are no restrictions outside of that on companies that you can partner with. One school may have a large partner, large corporate partner. Student athletes can partner with schools that are competitors of that partner. That's fine. There's truly, because the institution is hands off, which is the key to this, is there's no facilitation of deals from an institutional side. It truly is up to the student athlete to get whatever they want to get and put in the effort that they want to put into. It's kind of opened it up for us to just educate as best as we can and answer any questions that they may have. And to answer your question, if the school is getting anything, no, because again, this is something that's individual to the student athlete. It's something that they're handling on their own. They're bringing new people into their world, and we'll talk later with Tiffany, who's kind of dealing with that. But it's really the effort that they want to put into it, and it may be different for one student athlete compared to another.
Is there a certain way that these endorsers, sponsors, whomever have to approach the student? Do they have to go through the coach? Do they have to go through the school?
I think some schools and some teams may have different opinions on that. Here at the University of South Carolina, we fall back on the state law. The state law doesn't necessarily require them to do it a certain way. It's important to note that our state law does require agents to be registered. So we're kind of new into this world of, if you want to represent a student athlete to a company, you do have to register with the state. And there are restrictions in terms of what can be in that deal and what can't be in that deal. But, our coaches have tried to have conversations with our student athletes of, listen, when you're on our time, like, let's focus in on this, and you handle this stuff outside of that. And Coach Keaton can probably speak to that a little bit more. But, again, it's open and honest conversations. These conversations are happening in the locker room of, here's the expectation, and this is how we would like to treat this, because you can't avoid it. It's there. Can't change it. You're not, you can hem and haw about it as much as you want to, but you got to adapt.
Yeah.
Adapt.
Coach Keaton, do you want to chime in?
Yes, I was looking at Barb Go Army. She was saying each state being different. Well, that's how new this is. I mean, it's a lot of things that's going to be talked about. There's going to be a lot of data that's going to be retrieved from this season, this time frame of going through. And I think the powers to be and the people that make decisions will be able to sit at a table and be able to come up with, better, ramifications for what can and cannot be done. But the only way you can control it now is by each state. Because schools have to stay out of it. You can't have a conversation. I can't go out and solicit funds for him. I can't take him to go meet the man at the Peach Ford dealership, because he wants to do a commercial. That's not on me. And the hardest thing from a coach's standpoint is to keep him focused. As she said, my word is be where your feet are. I want them to be where their feet at, and it's hard to get them to be where their feet at when they're thinking about $1 million deal I could go get, or $500 over here. I could go do a commercial. And now I'm wondering, how does that affect schooling? Does he skip class because I can go make $1,000 because I can go sit down at the Peach Ford place and while they're shopping, I can take pictures with people.
Yeah. It's such a precarious situation, because while on the surface it looks like it's great for the students, but there has got to be some type of policing system, so to speak, for the kids to, as you, Coach Keaton, and you, Hillary, has said, to make the thing be the thing, to make sure they are focused on, you need to finish school. You can get hurt tomorrow, and that is the end of your career and the end of your endorsements and everything else. So, just making sure their focus is so very important. Barb Go Army says that each state being different isn't a good thing. She says it makes it more complicated for high schoolers to decide where to attend college. Hey, Barb, thank you so much for your comment. Stacy?
Yeah, let me piggyback on something I think Coach said. This thing is very, very young. It's like a baby colt trying to learn how to run. It's on wobbly legs a little bit. It's getting going. I think this is the jumping off point, as Hillary's referenced and both referenced. I think this is going to be. I think this will be the worst year ever of this. I think we're going to learn.
The worst one is the first one.
Right. I think the coaches will learn and adapt, and maybe they'll do something as a pressure valve, because I understand everything Coach is saying. And what Hillary's saying, everybody's learning. I think some guidelines are going to be tweaked after this year. But I don't want to be so caught up in hand wringing right here about what could go wrong with it. I want to point out now that there are some people that are doing team deals.
That's great.
It can be a sign of the future. University of Miami has a moving company. They offer $500 a month to every player on the team for representing a moving company. That's everybody. So there's no jealousy. Everybody gets the same $500 a month. And I think going forward, you're going to see more team deals. I think you'll see more of that. There's going to always be individuals. It is what it is. I mean, human nature is human nature. But there'll be enough on the table, I think, as people go and start. Maybe the offensive lineman will have a restaurant they get behind. You see what I'm saying? The wide receivers who about speed, they'll have a car dealership, or NASCAR get behind some running back. There will be some people are going to get creative with this thing. So, let's don't, I don't want to get caught. There's going to be some bad things, but we also the time where kids can't even go to. I always tell the story, and I'll be real brief. Ray Allen, I heard Ray Allen on a talk show when he was at Connecticut. He said he go sit in class. I told this story on another show me and Corey Miller was on. Teddy, I know you know Corey. We were on a show about a month ago talking about the same topic. And I told this story. Ray Allen was in class at University of Connecticut, and his classmates would wear his jersey to class that he couldn't afford to buy. He played in it, but he had to give up his meal money to get his own jersey. He had to skip some meals to get his own. We got to get past that. Whatever we're doing right now, okay, but we're not going back there again. It's over. That's over. Forget it.
Yeah, I thought it was real.
To get their own jersey at the bookstore.
Stacey, I thought it was real interesting when this came about. I think it's a great thing. Don't think I'm not for it. I'm for it all day. I just think it has to be regulated and horned. And I was listening. I was at the convention, maybe my third year coaching, and Philip Farmer was up speaking. And he was talking about how the rules were so harsh that his kids called him at 10 o'clock at night and they're hungry and they didn't play for him and did everything that they had. And he can't even go buy pizza for him without creating a violation. I mean, and I felt that, you know, if a guy can go and run up and down the field and I say I love him like I say I love him, when he called me and he in dire need, I should be able to pull $20 out of my pocket and go get them some Little Caesars pizza without feeling like I'm creating a violation for my team and for the people I represent.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's Coach Teddy Keaton. He's also Assistant Athletic Director at Allen University. Stacey Huff also joins us, Watch Fox 57 play-by-play announcer, and Hillary Cox is with the University of South Carolina. I want to ask you a couple of more questions, guys, before we leave. What about, so this encompasses all sports, tennis, soccer, volleyball, not only just the main three, baseball, football, and basketball, right?
Yeah, and I think that that's really important to hit on. And, you know, that's going to take a lot of the attention and, you know, some of the football deals and basketball deals. That's what you're seeing nationally. But this truly is open to all student athletes. And, you know, at this point, one of the most profitable student athletes that we've seen so far is a gymnast from LSU. You know, she just signed, you know, right around $1 million deal to be represented by a company. And so that's been the most reassuring part of this process for me personally, is seeing other student athletes benefit from that.
Right. Danae Bright, Doug Jones says, I think kids getting paid for endorsements takes away from the reason they're in college, which is to get an education. Thank you, Danae Bright, Doug Jones, for your comment. Stacey, anything else in closing that you want to say? What do you think? I mean, we've just talked about what that comment was. You know, that there is a challenge, obviously, but then on the other hand, as both you and Coach Keaton have said, you know, these kids are playing, they're working hard, they're putting it all out there, and there are situations when they can't even get something to eat.
I'm with you, Stacey.
That last comment, they're not there just to go to school. They're there to run the football, catch football, and play basketball. They're obviously there for something else. That's what we're talking about, right? Right? They're clearly they're not there just for their education, because they spend 20 weeks as a coach, 20 weeks on the practice field. 20 weeks?
Yeah.
I mean, 20 months.
Yeah.
20 hours. So clearly they're not there just for that. People kind of compartmentalize. You know, we want them in school. We want to represent our good old you, but then we want to control them too much. No, we're going to let them run the ball, and we're going to let them tackle, but we're going to also make sure they can eat and make sure they can find their parents in and see them if they want to every now and then, and those kind of things. The kids have got suspended for flying. They're going to see they get flown to see their grandmother's funeral. They've been right. Am I right, Coach? They've been on probation.
Yeah.
Going to see them dying.
People got in trouble for a lot of stuff.
For leaving campus and going and catching a flight, and come on, man, that's just been ridiculous.
Well, I'm sure there's so many intricacies, so many things that the general public just don't know about. I mean, you know, it's easy to make a comment or even have an opinion, you know, on the outside looking in. You don't realize the challenges that a lot of these students and student athletes have.
Well, until I got on the side of the administration, I really had to understand that there's some things that we see as coaches that we may not be exposed to until you get into the administration side, that sometimes now I'm so leery to get into conversation pieces with people, because there's thin lines between what's right and what's wrong, and what I may deem from a personal moral standpoint as right and wrong may not be what the legislation has stated for be right and wrong.
Right.
And Trey, I just want to add really quick, I would be remiss not to say this, but, you know, at the University of South Carolina, you know, we do have a little bit more of a budget in place to help with situations like you're talking about right now. I think Stacey talked about it. You know, we do have the ability to fly our student athletes home should they need to go home for a funeral. You know, there are things that we've been able to do that is a priority for us here, specifically at the University of South Carolina, that I think it's really important just to keep in mind that, we're hearing it. We're talking to our kids when they have issues. We're doing everything that we can to help them. The same thing with NIL.
And you know what, Hillary, that's whole other conversation, girl. Schools, and
that's what's really difficult about this whole concept. NIL is such an umbrella, and it's so different on every campus. It is so different on every campus, and it's really difficult to try to put everyone into the same box and put some of these restrictions that they're trying to talk about nationally, because some schools just can't sustain that. Yeah. And that's just something that we just have to really be mindful of when you're looking at when you're trying to do this. You can't put everyone in the same box.
Yeah.
Amen to that.
Yeah. Hillary Cox is the Director of Administration at the University of South Carolina. Stacey Huff with a Huff Nation Sports Show, also play-by-play announcer at Watchbox 57 in Columbia, South Carolina, and Allen University football coach and assistant athletic director Teddy Keaton join us. Thank you guys so much for just shedding light and sharing your expertise and opinions on this really interesting topic. Coming up next, Tiffany Joy Murchison with TJM and Company Media joins the conversation to discuss the deals, the structures, and what she and her firm are doing to help prepare high school and college student athletes. That's coming up next on Coping with COVID. I'm Tre Tailor. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Computers, they're a part of our everyday lives. But when they're not working, they're an everyday problem. So call Computers Unique, your everyday solution. 803-351-5821. Is your computer running slow? Won't turn on? Do you need a screen replaced? Or maybe you just need another computer? Well, Computers Unique is your one-stop shop for all your computer needs. They have a wide variety of new and pre-owned PCs, Macs, and tablets. So call Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall. 803-351-5821. 803-351-5821.
Let Palmetto Painting Services take the worry out of your next home painting project. We can paint anything. Our business is about interior painting and exterior painting. We offer services for residential and commercial properties. Restore the life to your home with a fresh coat of paint from Palmetto Painting Services. References are available upon request. Give us a call at 803-546-4570 today.
The Comet gives me a reliable source of transportation.
It's very convenient to me, and they have wonderful drivers.
It's clean and it builds community. It's fun to meet people.
It makes me feel like really independent. It's just fun.
It's always going to be there and gets me everywhere I need to go.
We try to ride every single day. Comedy is our livelihood.
Thank you so much for joining us for Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. I'm Tre Tailor. And don't forget that we are streaming live on the Tailor Made production page. Please go over there and hit like, share, and follow on Facebook so that you can not only watch Coping with COVID Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and first Monday with comedian George Wallace. You can also get all of your COVID-related updates. We're also streaming live on YouTube. Please hit the subscribe button. And we do have a presence on Instagram and on Twitter. Hey, don't forget at the bottom of the screen, scrolling is great information. So many great resources that are available if you need them concerning COVID and more. We're talking about NIL, the name, image, and likeness policy the NCAA has approved, allowing college athletes to monetize and profit from their NIL, their name, image, and likeness. Tiffany Joy Murchison leads a New York-based PR firm that empowers and exposes brands to their ideal audience. The two-time author is currently developing Going All the Way. It's a reputation management workshop for high school and college athletes. Thank you so much, Tiffany, for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So tell me, it was so interesting that as we were getting ready to come on the air, you had an athlete that actually called you that you're getting ready to talk to in a couple of minutes. So what types of deals are being negotiated?
Right now, as all of your other guests said, that it's open to everything. Recently, Master P and his son Hersey hit the news because he was offered a $2 million deal. He's 19
Wow.
years old. Now, you're not going to see that as the norm. It ranges anywhere from gear, like athletic gear, things of that nature, to money. But the typical kid hopefully won't be driving a Rolls Royce, as some of your previous guests said. But it really is just all over the place. There is no standard, no structure, no norm right now.
Yeah. Is there anything in place to protect and advise these students? Because again, even what the previous guest said, I mean, your thought process is these are kids,
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of how I got involved in this in the first place. So I became a bonus mom. I have a bonus son who plays basketball. And through the last few years of his high school career, I started to hear, him and his friends talking, and him talking to his dad about the trouble that the athletes were getting into. And I said to them, somebody needs to give these kids, an education on how to maintain their reputation. Around that time, football player, I think his name is Laramie Tunsil, was slated to be in 1 through 5 in the draft. And because of something that went on social media, he went all the way to 12 and equated that to a loss of millions of dollars in endorsements, right? And so I started to put together the workshop back then. And at that time, NCAA athletes could not have their own publicists. They couldn't have any professional assistance, but I was just looking for some place to go in and say, listen, let me at least give them some reputation management training and show them how that equates to dollars in their future. And then lo and behold, now we have this. I watched eagerly as California's governor signed it into law on LeBron James' show, The Shop, and was like, okay, now here's my moment. I need to just seize the moment, because as a mom, especially as a Black woman and a Black mom of, I have a son and a daughter, you worry about what these kids are going to get into, and they don't realize how much trouble it could cause.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Tiffany Joy Murchison joins us. She's with TJM and Co., a media boutique, and she's now helping student athletes in this space to help guide them in the right way, negotiate the right deals. So let me ask you, Tiffany, are parents becoming involved in the process? I mean, you've got the expertise. I mean, you had the foresight to say, okay, I need to get involved. And you've got a little, you've got the background, So are parents becoming involved, and do they recognize they should be?
Unfortunately, not enough. A lot of these kids go to college and play sports as a way out. Their parents don't have the financial acumen to teach them the financial literacy. So the kids don't have the financial literacy. And that's a big thing that's missing, right? So I've advised, I've had some sports management agencies talk to me about what they could do. And the thing that I always say to them is, you've got to put a financial literacy piece. Otherwise, we're setting them up for failure. We're giving these kids hundreds of thousands, even millions maybe of dollars with no, one of your guests said, oh, they just know how to write a check. And I thought to myself, no, they don't. They know how to swipe. They don't write a check. I have teenagers.
And swipe.
Right. I have a college freshman that's the best thing she could do is swipe, so they don't even know how to balance a ledger. We don't do that with them anymore. So, the parents aren't getting involved enough because they don't know.
They don't know.
If you get somebody that comes along and they're fast talking, these kids could get themselves into real trouble.
Yeah. Is there anything in place when you're negotiating these deals? Can the money be put in a trust or some kind of college fund for them? Or is that something you are suggesting?
That is definitely something I'm suggesting. Like Stacy said, and Coach Keaton said, and Hillary, it's the individual state has rules that are around things, and nobody knows what they're doing. So they're scrambling. If the kid is 18 or older, they're an adult. So there isn't very much that mom or dad can say. In my household, if I'm still, financially supporting you, then you're not an adult. But
I know that's right, girl.
Yeah. But the law says that they're adults. And so it's really hard to force any particular structure. So, I'm hoping that the colleges and that the brands will come to some agreement and even reach out to professionals like myself to say, they can set it up and say, okay, this is what we're going to offer you, but this is how you have to do it. and they could say, you get such and such amount or an allowance or some sort of, trust fund, or I'm hoping that the brands take that responsibility. So brands that we do work with, if they are coming with, questions to me, those are the things that I'm suggesting, because you don't want to set these kids up for failure.
Absolutely not. I mean, and I mean, you made such a great point. If we're already talking about parents, they're coming from a family who don't know, the parents not involved. And listen, if they were involved, it might be more harm than good, to be honest with you. You know, so somebody's got, I mean, I just think we cannot be irresponsible with this. This is a great opportunity for kids. And this could change lives. This could change families, but only if someone is responsible enough to help lead and guide these kids. That's the key to it. That's the key.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm Tre Tailor. You're watching Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. We're talking about the NIL, the name, image, and likeness policy that the NCAA has approved, allowing college athletes to monetize and profit from their name, image, and likeness. Tiffany Joy Murchison leads a New York-based PR firm that empowers and exposes brands to their ideal audiences. She is a 2-time author and currently developing Going All the Way. It's a reputation management workshop for high school and college athletes. Tiffany, you said you kind of got involved in it because you have a college student. Tell me about the Going All the Way initiative.
So the initiative is slated to be a 2-day workshop. The me and social media and the image, the I and the image responsibility. Those are the 2 portions. And you want to bring kids in, give them a half a day or so of workshops, send them home with something to think about, with a little bit of homework, and then have them come back and discuss what they found about themselves on the next day, and just kind of give them some guidance and how their reputation affects their dollars. And we use examples like Laramie Tunsil, like Tiger Woods. People don't think about golf. Like you mentioned earlier, it's not just basketball and football, but soccer, baseball, golf, lacrosse,
gymnastics. That's big. That's big money there too.
And of course, there are some sports that are targeted more. I even had to understand that basketball students or athletes are a little bit more exposed because they don't have a helmet on. With working with some of my colleagues, they say, they brought to my attention, they said, Tiffany, the football guys don't have it as bad as the basketball guys, because in football, you have a helmet on. So unless you are that star player, most people don't see you. But on the basketball court, your face is out. You don't have a helmet on. So people recognize basketball players a lot more than they recognize football players. So things like that. And what we do is we tell the kids, what are you doing now? What type of person are you now? Where do you want to be in 5 years, 10 years, and 30 years, right? And then we tell them to look at their behavior, the things they put on social media, things that they've shared, the things they do with their friends. And when you tell me who you want to be in 5, 10, and 30 years, are the things that you're doing now setting you up to be that in 5, 10, 30 years? And then we show them how that impacts their dollars. So they're not only getting a lesson in managing their reputation, but they're also getting a little lesson in how to start managing their financial wealth and their generational wealth, because I'm going to do things now that will impact me 10, 20, 30 years from now.
Right. Now, this is targeted for high school and college students?
Yes,
athletes?
Absolutely.
Now,
will you could start too early. If I could go into the elementary schools, I would.
Yeah, absolutely. And when will you launch, and how many markets will you do this in? I know you're based out of New York.
Yeah, so we are working with a few schools in New York now to get in there. We've done some pilots with some of the churches in the neighborhood.
That's
have access
good.
to do it for their youth groups, and we've done a couple of schools here and there. But we're looking to really broaden that, and we'll start in New York, but we're looking to take it to Virginia, Maryland, the whole East Coast, and then hopefully nationwide eventually, especially in neighborhoods where the kids look like my children.
Yeah, absolutely. Tiffany Joy Murchison joins us. She is a PR and media and marketing professional, and also is now negotiating some deals for these students that are being able to take advantage of the name, image, and likeness policy that the NCAA has implemented. Can you tell us, without telling us names, some of, I know you mentioned the Master P thing, but some of the things that you have negotiated and how it's gone, and even if I'd love to know if these students are open to hearing, let me help you manage this money piece.
A lot of them are, if they understand that it impacts their dollars.
Yeah.
You know, when they see Master P's son, of course, every young man wants that same deal.
Because he's also not only an athlete, he's also Master P's son.
Right.
That's the other thing.
He has all the things in place that he needs to
Yeah.
get those deals, you know, and Master P talked about that, the financial literacy and things of that nature. So that is a good thing and a bad thing.
Yeah.
Because, you know, these guys are coming in saying, well, I want $2 million. And we're like, well, you can't get $2 million,
Yeah.
you know? But we're at the very beginning stages of some of this,
Okay.
and the schools don't know how to deal with it. The athletes don't know how to deal with it, and the brands are kind of looking like, okay, where do you come in? You know,
Right.
those athletes that have, you know, people that have reached out to me to help manage that. So we're in the very beginning stages, but a lot of it is coming in terms of material things like sneakers, clothing, things of that nature. So the money that we're looking at for a lot of local athletes is small, but for them, it's still substantial because it's something that they didn't have before. I can tell you that some of the other athletes that I work with that are, you know, have been pro or former pro athletes have said that they probably would have stayed in school longer had they been able to make some money. So I'm looking at it from that aspect too. You know, are these kids going to actually stay and get an education? Because a lot of the draw for athletes to get drafted is the money.
Yeah.
They have families at home that they want to take care of. You know, they want to buy mom a house. They have a sister, maybe a family member that's ill, and medical bills are killing them, you know, the family. So a lot of athletes will probably end up staying in school longer and completing their degree program because they have the ability to make money earlier on.
Now that's such an interesting point because, you know, to one of our comments on Facebook, you know, saying that they need to focus on their education. But again, people are coming from different backgrounds. And as you said earlier, oftentimes college is an escape. You know, I remember when the pandemic first hit and a lot of these colleges were having to send kids back. The kids didn't have anything to go back to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you are already, you know, poverty stricken or from a broken home or whatever the case may be, you are thinking about more than let me finish college, let me get my education. You're thinking about how am I going to support myself and my family? So I think that's such an excellent point. Which also brings back the point of why it's so important to have someone in place to manage that money, because they're thinking about, let me get out so I can make some money. And as you said, take care of my family. So that's such an interesting point, Tiffany. I love that you said this may actually bode well for students to stay in school and get their education.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I know one of your guests said, and kudos to Hillary and her institution, because she said they do have a budget, they can fly kids home and things of that nature.
That's big school versus, listen, what I wanted to say was that's PWU versus HBCU. That's what I wanted to say.
Exactly. Kudos there, but that is not the situation for most of our kids.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's the Black and brown kids that are going to be the most impacted on either side, negatively or positively. And so, you know, it's so important that we put parameters in place. I mean, parents, if you need help, I'm here, reach out to me, please. I'd rather, you know, see the kids get this and do well with it and set themselves up for a bright future. But they talked about, like, in the locker room and the arrogance and things like that. That's why media training is so important as well. Because they don't realize that attitude, that arrogance, you could lose those deals. They need to look at the pro athletes and see how brands will pull back on an endorsement deal really quickly because you are no longer a family-friendly brand. Because you've behaved a certain way in public that, you know, got caught on camera and somebody put you on blast. So just as quick as those deals come, those deals can go. And they need to understand that as well.
And our kids live and die by, you know, social media. And, you know, you're already a teenager, you're wilding out. You know, again, you're not thinking about, you know, yesterday's show was a women's health panel, and we talked to people 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, multi-generational. And we were saying to those 20 and 30-year-olds, are you recognizing now what you're doing to your body, to your mind, to your spirit? Are you thinking about 30, 40
They're
years?
not.
No, they're not.
Everything for them is instant gratification.
It's today. Yeah.
They're used to everything happening right now.
Yeah.
Instagram has them thinking everything is really instant. And
Yeah.
so somebody needs to be in their ear, a whole lot of somebody's, but
oh yeah,
but people need to be in their ear, really just teaching them. And I mean, it does start at home, but
yeah, it
parents
does.
need a support. It takes a village.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, and you say, and I'm gonna let you go because I know you got that 3:00 meeting, but even if a parent, and I love that you are saying to parents, call you, you're a parent. So not only are you a professional, you're a parent. So you get it on so many different sides. But even if you don't have the skills, it's okay. Somebody else does. At least be conscientious to know, let me help myself and my child navigate through this area. So last question. So the agent doesn't come, the agent comes directly to the student and then the student talks to you?
Yeah, for the most part. A lot of the information that we've had are from either coaches that I know who have kids, leaving high school, going into college now,
Yeah.
or friends that I know that are in the sports management industry that will say, hey, Tiffany, we need your help here. And then, just friends that I know that have children that play sports. I have a bonus son. He plays basketball.
Yeah.
And I remember looking for schools with him and the things that made him choose what school he went to, and fortunately for him, he has parents that we do pretty well. So he's okay. But I remember going to one school and they put the athlete's name on the locker in lights, like literally like a neon thing with his name on it. And then we went to an HBCU and he was like, this is old. I don't want to go here. So when you look at those things, he did. When you look at those things and you see what draws them, it's their name in lights. It's the big stuff. So somebody needs to be there just looking at the fine print and explaining to them what this actually looks like and how it can benefit them, but how it can also be harmful.
Yeah, awesome. Samantha Clee, thank you so much for posting. She tagged her two daughters, Destiny Clee and Sedario Brown. She says, think before you post. Interesting.
Absolutely.
Samantha lives in the South Carolina area. Her younger daughter is an influencer, and she so she wears the clothes and she has her own makeup and eyelash line. And then her older daughter is a realtor, and I see them post a lot, think before you post, but you ain't thinking if you're 20 or 30. You ain't thinking about that. You're thinking about posting. You're not thinking about thinking before you post.
I always say, thank God that there was no social media when I was in my 20s.
Girl, me too. Me too. Multicultural media maven, connector, problem solver. Tiffany Joy Murchison leads a New York-based PR firm. You can see her information there, TJM and Company, that empowers and exposes brands to their ideal audience. She authored the ebook PRT Until a Small Business Owner's Guide to DIY Public Relations. The second edition is about managing a reputation during social unrest and a health pandemic. She's kind of like Olivia Pope. Her new project, Going All the Way, is a reputation management workshop for high school and college students. As she said, if you have a college or high school student that is into athletics, please contact Tiffany. It doesn't matter where you live around the country. We can communicate this way. Yeah. Yes. And she can help lead and guide not only athletics, I'll say, because just like I was just thinking about, we just mentioned Samantha with Destiny, with her two daughters. I mean, because you work with brands. You work with brands. Listen, girl, I'm getting ready to call you. You work with brands.
Please do.
Yeah, you work with brands. So if you are even a social media influencer or know someone who is, contact Tiffany and her firm so that she can help you take the best advantage of your moment now.
Absolutely. It only takes one moment to make you. It takes a lot of moments to make you, but it can only take one moment to ruin you. So you got to think about that.
Tiffany, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you so much for just sharing your expertise. And I am going to reach out to you. Thank you again. Safe travels. God bless. And we appreciate you. Can we put Tiffany's information back up one more time? If you need some more information, please contact Tiffany Joy Murchison with TJM and Company Media Boutique. Thank you, Tiffany. All right. So listen, if you have a story or initiative that can help someone cope with COVID, please go to the Tailor Made Production page on Facebook and inbox me. We would love to feature your product, your initiative, or your story on coping with COVID. If you have a product or service that can help someone cope with COVID, you can see the email address scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Please email copingwithtretailor@gmail.com. We would love for you to be a proud sponsor along with SCDHEC, In It Together SC, the Diabetes Advisory Council of South Carolina, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Palmetto Media Connections, Palmetto Painting Services, Agape Counseling and Training Services, the Fifth Circuit Solicitor's Office, Attorney Byron Gibson's, Computer Unique, Dutch Square Mall, the Comet Bus System, and also Javis Tax Services. Tomorrow, Nancy Smith, the General Manager with the South Carolina State Fair, joins us for all of the fun and festivities. Also, Dominion Energy is holding a diversity conference in October, and we'll talk to them also. As always, I leave you with a reading from Jesus Calling. Today, September, what is today? The 30th, last day of September. Can you guys believe it? Jesus says this: I am perpetually with you, taking care of you. That's the most important fact for your existence. I'm not limited by time or space. My presence, Jesus says, is a forever promise. You need not fear the future, for I am already there. Your future is in my hands, and I release it to you day by day, moment by moment. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow. I want you to live in this day abundantly, seeing all there is to see, doing all there is to do. Jesus says, don't be distracted by future concerns. Leave them to me. Each day of life is a glorious gift, but so many people fail to live within the confines of today. Much of their energy for abundant living spills over into the lifetime of tomorrow's worries or past regrets. Their remaining energy is sufficient only for limping throughout the day, not for living it to the full. I am training you, Jesus says, to keep your focus on my presence in the present. This is how to receive abundant life. And that flows freely, Jesus says, from my throne of grace. That's your Jesus Calling for today, September 30th. I'm Tre Tailor. Thank you again so much for joining us on Coping with COVID. Until the next time, I wish you peace and abundant blessing. Take care. God bless. Get your vaccine, please. And don't forget to wear your mask over your nose and under your chin. See you later.
Coping with COVID. Updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. It's brought to you by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control. Visit scdheck.gov for an updated list of testing sites and important information on how to protect yourself, your family, and friends from the coronavirus. SCDHEC. Healthy people, healthy communities. In It Together and the South Carolina Diabetes Advisory Council. Presenting Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday on Coping with COVID. The City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, helping to meet the needs of small, minority, and women-owned businesses in the City of Columbia. Log on to columbiasc.net/OBO. Agape Counseling and Training Services. Call 803-779-2777 for licensed professionals of counselors and social workers helping families, engaged and married couples, and individuals of all ages gain an understanding of all aspects of their lives. If you're having a challenge coping with COVID, contact Agape Counseling and Training Services at agapects.com. And Palmetto Media Connections, connecting media and communities together. Coping with COVID, brought to you by SCDHEC, In It Together, the Diabetes Advisory Council, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Agape Counseling and Training Center, and Palmetto Media Connections.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.